I think it's one of those things when you get it in play, you look at things and you will reevaluate that as the season's going on. And if it's appropriate to make changes in the future, we will. So I think it'll be a big improvement. I think it will bring the play back into, a relevant play, an important play, and an exciting play. And I think we can do it where the injury rate hopefully will drop.
Let's kick off talking about this new hybrid kickoff, this XFL-inspired kickoff that the NFL adopted at the owners' meeting by a vote of 29-3, I believe it was. The kickoff went from back in the day to all the way back. Kickoffs were returned at a rate of 22% last year. The XFL had a rate of 97% returns on this kickoff. I don't know if you can tell by my tone and the inflection in my voice, but I am excited about the kickoff coming back in a new, well, not new, I mean, they copied it from the XFL, but new for the NFL, a new, innovative, safer way. I'm here for it. I'm feeling it. I'm excited to see the strategy. The roster construction has already...
The strategy.
Well, I mean, because it's really like a glorified, like wide run play. So I'm interested to see how people scheme it on both sides, kicking team and receiving team. I'm interested to see how people scheme it, how teams build rosters accordingly. Like, no coincidence, minutes after this thing passes, the Steelers signed Cordero Patterson, who's got, 9 kick return touchdowns in his career, who's a running back anyway. And from what I read and understand, see, I've been nerding out on this, man. I've been watching more XFL video that I have since the days that he ate me. It's more conducive to a running play, or a running back actually, being a return guy, than it is just a straight speed guy. And Cordero Patterson, obviously, Belichick made him a running back and changed his career. Now after Smith gets him back, the Steelers got a new weapon. Your Steelers, your new, not your granddad Steelers, making the types of moves that I think we're going to see a lot of teams start to make to take advantage of this kickoff. It should be an exciting action-packed play. I'm tired of touchbacks. I'm sick of seeing touchbacks. I grew up with Mel Gray. Devin Hester is one of the most exciting players in NFL history.
Okay, there we go. Now we're talking.
So you just want to bring the old thing back. You like H-Town. You want to bring that old thing back.
What,
is this too radical for you? It's too radical. It's too different.
Dude, it's too goofy. It's like, man, you want to go to the fair, you want to go to the circus, you want to play some games. Let's just do something silly. Let's say, remember that movie, that stupid movie, Basketball, where like baseball and basketball, like you want to do something just really weird? Let's get weird. Okay, let's get weird on Brother from Another. Look.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Like, you can always come up with an exciting play that has nothing to do with the sport that you're playing. So, yeah, oh, wow.
Wait a minute. They're not shooting free throws.
They ain't got nothing to do with
football.
What
do you mean?
It ain't got nothing to do with it.
It's just not football that you're... How so?
Okay, so we're about to put a guy in the Hall of Fame. We're going to see his ceremony. We're going to hear from Devin Hester. He's going to be celebrated. He's going to have a gold jacket in Canton for something that doesn't exist. You can't say that about any other aspect of football. You can't say that about a wide receiver, a quarterback, a tight end who is celebrated in Canton for something that doesn't exist in this sport anymore. It doesn't exist. He is the greatest kickoff return man in NFL history, and there is no kickoff return anymore. It doesn't exist. It's silly.
There is going to be a kickoff return. More frequent kickoff returns. It's just evolved.
But you can't call that a kickoff return. You can't call that.
So not as we're accustomed to it. But okay, Michael, let me ask you this. Because you're as much of an NFL historian as I am. Okay, let me ask you this. Wouldn't you agree that when you turn on NFL films, or when you go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, or you study NFL history, the game, the way it's played, looks a hell of a lot different now in 2024 than it did in 1924 or 34 or 44. Once upon a time, their mind was blown by the forward pass. Okay? They were drop kicking once upon. There are lots of things in the lore, in the annals, in the history of the NFL that went the way of the dinosaur. That evolved. Right. So
is this evolution?
This is evolution.
You think it's evolution?
Yes, it's evolution.
You think it is?
Yes, they're kicking the ball off. The return will reduce the number of collisions, which statistically and analytically lead to a higher rate of injuries. And we talked about this the other day with the hip drop tackle. I understand the hypocrisy and the inconsistency with trying to make the game safer in some aspects, and yet they don't want to go to all grass fields at every stadium. They want to maintain this abusive turf. I understand that. But I would prefer this as opposed to just a routine touchback every time they kick it off.
Me too. I don't want a touchback, and I am all for player safety. I really am for player safety. So I'm not the one, for example, who brought on a 17th game, and I'm not the one talking about an 18th game. I'm all for player safety. So I want everybody to have grass fields, but I'm not in charge of that department. So you can't. I don't believe them on player safety. I don't believe them. I really don't. It's you have the opening kickoff. You have the kickoff to start the third quarter and kickoff after a score. So and how many kickoffs do you get in a game? I mean, like
quite
maximum.
A few. Quite a few.
But,
I mean, they're complaining because scoring is down right now. They want more of them. They want more kickoffs.
But you don't have 40 of them in a game.
No.
You don't have 50. So when you talk about collisions, I understand racing down the field.
High-speed collisions.
High speed. I know high-speed collisions. But there are 70, 80, 90 collisions every play in a football game.
All the time. Correct.
All the time. And for a league
but they're not ignoring that.
Long time.
And they're not ignoring that. I'm not trying to be the guy from the NFL office here because it's not my department either. And I ain't keeping up for the league.
Right.
But it's not like there aren't other measures to take the head out of the game. There are penalties when it comes to using your head improperly. In practice, they're wearing these silly guardian caps, which have helped to reduce head trauma during practice. So I don't know if this is the road you're going down, but it's not as though head trauma and collisions are being ignored in other areas.
I signed up. Look, I can look myself in the mirror, and I know I've told you many times, and I've told our audience many times. If you're looking for a hypocrite, hey, nice to meet you. So I can deal with my own hypocrisy, my own imperfections. I know. See, I'll be honest enough to say because I am not a part of the NFL front office structure, ownership structure. You can't make it safer. You can't take out head.
You can make it safer. You can't make it safe. You can't take head trauma out completely, but you can reduce it. You can reduce it, and it has been reduced. You can take steps to make it safer.
I don't know that.
It's not safe. It's never going to be complete. It's a violent game. Does it have to be as violent? Does it have to leave bodies as broken? It's going to be nasty and violent. But it does not have to be the game that has people suffering from CTE and dementia and their bodies broken at the rate that they have been historically. You can't avoid it completely, but you can still take steps to curb some of the danger, can you not? Without compromising the integrity of the game. Listen, man, I do miss the old school kickoffs.
I wish that were true.
But I'm okay with trying something new.
I wish that were true.
Open your mind, old man, and try something new. Do you only listen to the same music you listened to when you were growing up? Do you only listen to your parents' music? Do you only listen to a Tribe Called Quest?
Wait. No, come back for a second because
what?
I like the insults and all that stuff.
I'm not insulting you. I'm being facetious. I'm not insulting you at all because I know you listen to contemporary music. I know you listen to contemporary hip hop. I know you don't. You're just stuck in the Stone Age. I know that.
What I'm saying is, I heard some of the insults. Some of them I didn't even hear. I'm
not insulting you.
They weren't nice.
I'm not insulting you.
I know you were.
I'm not insulting you. I was not. I was being facetious.
What I want to point out is I wish what you were saying. I wish that were true. That you can curb this. The NFL. I don't believe the NFL when it comes to statistics on trauma. They didn't even. They're as recently as 2007. in 2008. There's an interview out there. Go look at it. HBO, I think it was Real Sports,
Okay.
where they were even denying that collisions led to head trauma
Right.
in this century. In the
To say
21st century,
nothing-
the NFL
to
is
say
late.
nothing about-
I don't believe
about-
them.
Mike, to say nothing about race norming. You're right. No, I hear
Right.
you. I heard race norming when it comes to concussion settlements and the baseline for black players versus white players in terms of how much cognitive decline they have to experience in order to receive payouts and disability payments. So no, if you're saying I don't trust the NFL, I don't trust their motivations, I don't trust that they actually have player interest at heart.
Or their
I
numbers.
understand where you're coming from. Or their
I don't
numbers,
trust
or
their
their
numbers.
facts.
So,
And that's
I
the
would
journalist
say-
in you.
I would say in this
and I
game-
respect that. I respect that.
Unfortunately.
But I think, regardless of whether the numbers are inflated or not, or exaggerated or not, I think that just as a viewer of the game, as a consumer of the game, as a lifelong watcher of football, as you are, right? As you are. You've been watching it for 10 years longer than I have, right? As a lifelong fan of football, I think you would have to acknowledge that the game is played differently and therefore safer, not safe, but safer than the game that we grew up watching. The collisions that we see in the secondary, the days of Jack Tatum and Ronnie Lott, or the way that the quarterbacks are protected, sometimes to a frustrating point, oftentimes to a frustrating point. The way that they just took out the hip drop tackle. The game is safer. Is it safe? Is the NFL actually committed to safety across the board? No.
No.
Are they consistent? No. Are there still steps to be taken when it comes to the concussion protocol? Absolutely. Are they hypocritical when it comes to making it safer for certain players but not others, or in certain aspects and not others? Grass fields, as we just referenced a second ago? Absolutely. But is it safer, and are there steps to be taken to make it safer, relatively speaking? I believe there is, Michael. And I'm saying, just all I want to ask you to do, it wasn't an insult. I'm just simply saying, keep an open mind. What if it's exciting? What if there are more touchdowns? What if there are more big plays?
Oh, there will be.
What if there's a different level of strategy?
There are many things
There's
to
nothing
make.
wrong with
There are
it.
many things that I can name something in every sport, in every single sport, no exaggeration. Give me like 20 minutes, and you say, we need to make baseball more exciting. I can make it more exciting. It may not have anything to do with the game of baseball that you love, or it could be like some. I could
sped up the
bastardize
game.
it.
Literally and
bastardize
figuratively,
it
it
to
sped
make
up the game.
Okay, there are certain
They
things that do have
widened
to
the
do with
bases,
baseball.
more steals, right?
There could be, but what you're doing is gathering people together, and then you have a kickoff. I mean, like, dude, it's crazy. It really is crazy. I'll be looking. Of course, I'm curious because I'm curious about a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily make it
too much
a
for
great
you?
thing.
Is this too complicated for you? It's too much. You just want
it's
to
not
see people
complicated.
just like run into
It's
each
not
other?
complicated at all. There's nothing complicated about it. It's as simple as it. You know what it is? This is a football clinic where you get some people together and you're trying to explain elements of football to them, but you don't want them to be hurt, so you kind of slow it down and you gather them together and say, hey, it's something like this. This has nothing to do with the game that we have watched. This is not evolution. This is a tweak. It's not evolution. Look, if you want to see the kickoff come back, there's an easy solution to that. Have the kicker, move the kicker back 10 yards. Move the kicker back 10 yards. So you force a kickoff. But
that doesn't.
That brings
but
in
then the collisions. Yeah.
Yeah, the collisions are going to happen. The collisions are going to happen.
They don't have to happen at that speed.
But I don't buy the presumption that most injuries, that the most violent injuries happen on the kickoff. I don't buy it. Because I've seen injuries happen in all sorts of ways. Seen some violent ones. I've seen some injuries happen
It's the
just
rate.
like, ooh, how did that happen?
It's the rate. It's the rate of injury on that play in particular.
I
guarantee you, if we went in a time machine and we went back to was it 19? Is it 79? What year did the NBA adopt the three-point line? Was 79?
1979, 1980.
I guarantee you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, we go back to two brothers on Peacock 45 years ago. One of them was like the three-point line.
With that on multiple levels.
Right.
On multiple levels.
I
I
know. Right. It wasn't two brothers, obviously. It was probably two old white guys being like, oh, the three-point line. Whoa. This is my Bob Ryan impression. Oh, my God, the three-point shot. What is this? Exactly.
2024.
Exactly. Oh, the three-pointer. Why are we shooting threes? This is ridiculous. Oh, the designated hitter. What is a designated hitter? What does that even mean? Like, okay, come on. Like, somebody told me this. Here's another word for you. That still don't like it. Here's another word for you. Somebody once told me, and I can't stand the person who told it to me, but somebody once told me, the only people who are comfortable with change are babies. Nobody likes change.
Right.
Nobody likes things being different. But, like, give it a chance. I'm intrigued by it. I'm hyped by it.
I like
as you can
change.
see.
But wait a minute. I like change. I don't like change based on something that I don't believe in. So I don't believe.
You reject the premise.
Altogether, I don't believe that the rate of injuries is higher with the traditional kickoff. Yeah, you want to change the kickoff? I'm all for changing the kickoff. You want to bring in an exciting play? Yes, I want the play to be exciting too. I do love the story. Old school, you mentioned Gray. How about Gale Sayers and kickoff returns?
Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Billy White Shoes Johnson, then the spike at the end of the play, and to the modern day. Cordero Patterson, as you mentioned. Devin Hester. I love, at the beginning of the Super Bowl, I love these plays. So you can change it to take off the automatic touchback by moving the kicker back and guaranteeing that there's a return. How about that? That's a change. I like change.
Okay.
But can I point out?
Disagree.
Can I point out?
What?
Can I point out? I was at the first He Hate Me game in Las Vegas. I was there. Mm-hmm. Rod Smart, also known as He Hate Me on the back of his jersey. So I was there, and I saw the XFL kickoff. I saw the first one. And Dick Butkus, the great Dick Butkus, was in the house. Dick Ebersol was there from NBC. I remember talking to Lee Montville about it. I remember, like yesterday. And I actually liked it for the XFL. Because the XFL was what it knew what it was.
So this feels a little too. Wrestling. This feels too. So this feels disingenuous and gimmicky. In summary,
it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's a gimmick.
All right. Okay.
You'll see.
All right.
I'll
see.
One of us. You'll see. Yeah. One of us in 5 years. One of us will clearly be on the right side of history. And one of us will clearly be on the wrong side. I just wonder who that's going to be.
I'll take the Pepsi challenge when it comes to track records any day week with you. Okay? Okay. Are we in Inglewood?
We'll see.
All right. Okay. Listen, I don't think it's going to take 5 years. I think this season you're going to be like, dog, this shit is wild. I'm loving this new kickoff.
I'll say that. I'll say it's wild.
And then you're going to come back and be like, Michael, just like I told you, didn't I tell you that this was innovative and forward-thinking on the part of the NFL? Didn't I tell you that? That's what you're going to say. That's what you're going to say. And then you'll confuse all the new people who didn't see this show, and they're going to think that you were right and I was wrong, all right? Because that's how you keep up with me. That's how you keep the score close with your tricks and your shenanigans. What are you reading? Is there breaking news? Something happened?
Maybe. Yeah, there is breaking news, but not that has nothing to do with brother from another. It's breaking news in the Holley household.
Uh-oh. You all right?
Go ahead.
We
we're
need
good.
to take a break?
Everything's good.
You sure?
No.
You sure?
We just got to make sure the dog, and nobody fed the dogs today, so we just going to get the dogs fed.
Bruh.
Go ahead.
Dog. I mean, let's talk about that. Can we talk about that for a second? Can we talk about that? Did I ever tell you?
Let's put that in there. I'm telling them right now, feed the damn dogs, okay?
Did I ever tell you that one of the ugliest nights in the history of the Smith household was when Savannah lost her shit when she was about 11 years old. Because Sarah, I told people this before. I almost said so. I almost got way too comfortable.
Hey, listen.
I almost got way too. Bruh, I don't know. You ever look? The worst thing they could have done was take this daily live program that used to be on live every day from 3 to 4 on Peacock and Sirius XM and tape it. Because now I'm like, well, I'm just gonna let it fly now. Like, I'm not even like thinking, because I'm like, I got this safety net now. It's like before it was like, oh, maybe there's a delay. I gotta, now I'm just like, just saying whatever ever. I'm just saying it, right? Like,
there was never a delay, by the way, Michael. I just want to point that out to you.
And no, like, I mean, I've always cussed, but now it's like I'm even more comfortable because I know we're taping it and it could be like edited if necessary, or maybe not. So I still got to watch it because, everything's always live, I guess. Mike's always hot. But no, I was about to say something that would have been really inappropriate and it would have probably got me in trouble and that nobody needed to hear. Having said all that, let's just say that it was a very slim chance, slim to none, and I thought none, much closer to none, that my wife would ever acquiesce and get a dog. She just never wanted a dog. Well, sure enough, we got a dog. And who knew that the dog would almost immediately become my dog, which I'm good with. Stokely's my guy. Like, I love Stokely. Stokely Carmichael. I mean, that's my dog.
He's been on the show.
He's been on the show. He's right here. He's actually laying right next to me. He's my dog. Right, he's my dog. But it incenses me how somebody, and I'm specifically talking about Savannah, because the other two kind of follow her lead, how Savannah could have begged and pleaded for the dog, but doesn't want to do shit for the dog. Don't want to feed the dog, don't want to walk the dog, don't want to brush his teeth, don't want to brush him, don't want to pick up his shit in the backyard. Nothing. It just falls on us. But you beg for the dog.
How's that? Right.
You beg for the dog.
And that's just one dog.
I can't imagine having multiple.
Imagine three.
Three
pups. We've had this conversation.
But you got one per kid. It shouldn't be hard. It's man to man.
Right.
It's you got one per kid.
That's what we do. It's a rotation. It's a rotation. It goes in bar order. Beckham, Ava, Robinson. So it goes in bar order. It's your day. Is it a B day, A day, R day? Okay, here we are. But this morning,
one of them just take one dog. Like one of them, it's like an easy evaluation. This is your dog. Every day you feed this dog.
That would require too much.
Don't worry about the other ones.
But
just feed this dog.
Some mornings, somebody's running behind. Hey, cover for me this morning. I'll cover for you tonight. That whole thing, and then we wind up like we are today, where nobody covered for anybody. Nobody took responsibility.
Right.
And so
dogs
here we
walking
are.
around throwing shit up, like throwing up bombs. Like it's on the dog because they haven't eaten.
Hey, and I always say to them, like, hey, why don't we just give the dogs to a family that really cares? Oh, no. You can't do that.
Say that.
You can't.
Don't say that.
What?
Don't say that.
What?
Mm-mm.
You can't say that. They're a part of this family. They're a part of the family. How could you say that?
Tears and whatnot. Please, don't get rid of that. Like, okay, all right. Nothing changes. All right.
So that's it.
Oh,
so we're on it.
Owners meeting. Well, you're good. All right. Owners meetings. What else stood out to you at the owners meetings? And I'm actually referring to your feed item. We still do feeds around here. Your feed item. In response to Jeffrey Lurie explaining why he retained Nick Sirianni. What stood out to you about his comments?
All right, what stood out to me? He just said it out loud. He said it out loud. See, Lurie, this is what an owner would say this. I'm going to tell you what the owner said, then I'm going to translate it for you. Owner said, we're just so appreciative of Nick Sirianni, who just wants to get better. He wants to do whatever is best for making the offense more dynamic. We've had success. He wants to do that. So we brought in Kellen Moore. He wants to do what's best for the defense. He brought in Vic Fangio. You know what he did? Let me translate for you. He sold out his O coordinator and D coordinator to keep his damn job. That's what he did. So it's nothing really impressive about it. If Nick Sirianni, if he wants to impress me, hey, look, say it's not the coaches. It's not. See what happens. Call his bluff. Call Lurie's bluff. Like, look, it's not the coaches. And if you think it's those coaches, no, it starts with me. I'm the one who put the wrong defensive coordinator in place originally. Then I'm the one who made it worse. I made it worse by bringing in Matt Patricia, who unbelievably, remarkably, in 2022 was a better offensive coordinator, where he had no idea what he's doing, than he was in 2023 as a defensive coordinator. He was worse on defense than he was on offense. I'm the one who did that. And so, Mr. Lurie, if you want to make any changes, it starts with me. But he did the old normal thing. He went behind closed doors. You know it's a little line that goes around on social media now. Everybody's getting in on it. It says something like, I want to be the kind of person, if I'm not in the room, I want somebody to speak for me. I want somebody, if I'm not at the table, I hope I have somebody at the table who speaks up for me. No, hey, brothers, y'all wasn't at the table, and Nick Sirianni was not there for you. He was not checking for you. He was checking for himself, so he sold you out. So, look, it's fine. Philadelphia will be fine. It's just like Jeffrey Lurie told us something that's not really, he just confirmed what I already knew, but he just confirmed it.
Yeah, I mean, will they be fine? I mean, do you think whatever he said to keep his job, whoever he hired, Kellen Moore, big fan,
whatever he said to keep his job,
to appease ownership,
it was those two.
I'm saying to appease ownership. I'm saying, is that it? Is that it? Problem solved. They went off season, shopping spreeing again like they do every year. They were the most aggressive team this off season, as they are all the time. Is that it? Problem solved. Back to the team that they were at the beginning of last season. Even though there were signs, even when they were winning all those games, there were signs there were cracks in the foundation.
No, right.
But back to the team that represented the NFC in the Super Bowl, that beat the 49ers in the NFC title game. Are they good to go? 'Cause it feels like this is just, to me, staving off the inevitable, because as I told you before, for me, with Nick Sirianni, it's more of a temperament thing. It's more of just the type of tone and the type of what's the word? I don't think the implosion was simply schematic, is what I'm getting at last year. I've said this already. I don't think it was about scheme or about players. I think it was about a general
panicky
inability. I'm not gonna call it master of panic, no Shaq Stan Van Gundy thing, but volatile. How about volatile?
Okay.
How about
Volatile.
that? How about that? So
okay, that's a good word.
This is he has no more fall guys. So if the coordinator change and the offseason additions led by Saquon Barkley don't solve all the problems, there's nobody else for him to go into the office and say whatever ownership wants to hear to save his job. Like, usually replacing coordinators and replacing them with two guys, one is an ex-head coach, one has been in the coaching interview cycle for years, who's on your side of the ball offense. When you replace both coordinators, that's like step one toward being out the door, unless you find a way to get this thing on course immediately. Like, there's nobody else going to blame after this.
And I would say, as much as I would love to troll you, I think I've run out of Philadelphia Eagles swag. I've declared. I've shown everything that I have.
You've run out of like substance with which to troll me. You troll me because the Niners starting quarterback elbow got obliterated, and the Eagles won the NFC Championship game. That's all you've ever had to troll me on.
Happening. Wouldn't football be great if there were no injuries?
Take hits out the game.
Maybe Roger Goodell can make that happen, where nobody has injuries. Let's make that happen. There's no injuries.
We're close to you can't touch the quarterback. We're close. Yeah.
Okay. But I would say, as much as I love to troll you with Philadelphia, here's the other thing. Yeah, they added Saquon Barkley, and they made some nice moves on defense.
Devin White. Yeah, I like Devin White.
Devin White's a good one. They got my man from the Jets. The name is escaping me right now.
Bryce Huff, defensive end. Yeah,
Huff. Huff. They got Huff from the Jets. So they've done a nice job. And hey, look, I think they need help. They moved on from Bayard. They should bring in, if any team needs Justin Simmons, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. He's out there, free agent, great player.
They brought back Gardner Johnson. They brought back C.J. Gardner Johnson, right?
Brought him back.
Yeah.
But they lost Fletcher Cox. They lost Jason Kelsey.
Jason
Those are
Kelsey,
two,
yeah.
Offense, like
Leadership.
two big-time captains, long-time Eagles who know
I just
more
talked
than,
about volatility. Hey, I just talked about,
two
being even
stable
keeled. That's right.
Hall
right.
of
That's
Fame
big.
Eagles.
That's
Like,
big.
one of them is going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Kelsey is a Pro Football Hall of Famer and an Eagles Hall of Famer, and Cox is an Eagles Hall of Famer too. You lose both of those guys in the same offseason, that's huge. Yeah, it's going to be. They had their moment. They had their moment in Super Bowl 57. They missed that moment up 10 at halftime, and they had their moment 11 games into the season, 10-1. And then another Philly story, by way of Nigeria, things fell apart. Things fell apart for 'em.
Yeah, or Philadelphia, whichever you prefer. Chinua Achebe, the Roots, either way, I'm with you. So, what I would love to do, I think the best way for us to evaluate where the Eagles are at this point, Michael, since the Eagles are such like you talk about playing the hits on these types of hit programs, such a cornerstone topic for this show, I think it's only right for us to see the Eagles in person. Because we can watch the game on television, but I just feel like we should see them up close. We should you got to be boots on the ground. And what better place to be boots on the ground than Brazil? Brazil, for you Street Fighter 2 fans out there. I want to go. I need to go to this game. Notice I say I don't know if they got enough money for both of us, and that's really not my problem. it's every man for himself. Okay, I need to go. Wow. I need to go. Exclusively streamed on Peacock. Eagles versus somebody. Brazil game.
Browns, right?
And is it the Browns? Is the Browns? Yeah.
Is it
Browns?
Eagles and Browns? Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's confirmed yet. I don't think it's confirmed.
I
don't give a damn who they playing.
I
don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who they playing. I don't give a damn if they playing the Philadelphia Soul. I don't care. I don't care where they kicking the ball off from. Hey, let's go see the kickoff, how it works in Brazil. All I'm saying is you ever been to Brazil? You ever been to Brazil? I've never been to Brazil.
I've never been to Brazil.
I think we should do the show the whole week from there. We should just show the whole week.
I'm all right. I feel like this is my destiny. Now, you just made the case for yourself. Okay, of course. You in for yourself. I feel like I should be there. Now, you should come along too, but if you have to pick one.
Nature. If you had to pick one, why would you? Obviously, it's me.
I should go. I'm going to tell you why I should go.
Why?
Do you know, a little known fact, before I took the job with the Boston Globe in the early 1990s, I was taking Portuguese lessons in Akron, Ohio, preparing for a vacation to Brazil. So I was taking lessons like 2 or 3 times a week. I was getting ready. And then...
Do you speak Portuguese?
The Globe... That's why I was taking lessons, homie. I was taking lessons.
But what does that have to do? That's not a compelling argument. That's not a compelling argument.
Wait a minute.
Because you took Portuguese lessons? Shit, I went to a Brazilian steakhouse last week. Do I get credit for that?
No. I was preparing to spend my time because I was taking Portuguese lessons, preparing for my trip. I had a vacation plan for Brazil.
That's great. That's nice.
In August of 1994. And right before my vacation, Boston Globe says, "Hey, we need you. Can you start?" And I'm thinking, okay, do I pick the Boston Globe or do I pick Brazil? And I had to give up my Brazilian vacation that was planned for months to take the job at the Globe. And so now this is my time to recoup that vacation that I lost 30 years ago. So this is perfect.
Nice try.
This is for me.
Nice try.
This is for me.
Nice try.
This trip's for me.
Listen, I'll store you in my luggage. Okay, you be a stowaway on this here train. Okay, remember the stowaways? You be a stowaway on this boat.
See, is it too soon? Is it too soon to joke about that? Is it too soon to joke about stowaways? Too soon?
No.
No, you talking? Okay.
What?
All right.
What?
No.
What I say? What I say?
No. You're good. You're good.
Am I good?
No, you didn't say anything wrong. You didn't say anything wrong.
Okay.
You were talking about something. My mind went somewhere else. Anyway, but yeah, I think we should
Moving
go.
right along.
I think
yes, we should go.
I think we should go as a show.
We should go. Yes. We can't talk about the Eagles without talking about the 49ers. It feels only natural.
Oh, of course. Oh,
what? I'm actually going to be rational and reasonable about this. I'm actually conflicted, believe it or not. I'm conflicted because so Brandon Aiyuk, great social media person, as well as I don't even follow him on social media. I just like spelling out money talks and bullshit walks with emojis. I like him kind of like tweeting at Mike Tomlin talking about they say we twins. I just like how he's moving right now. My man is letting it be known. My man is letting it be known. I'm not comfortable. I ain't eating. He's like I'm not comfortable. Okay, with this contract negotiation, he wants to get paid. He's been outperforming his that rookie deal, right? So I appreciate Brandon Aiyuk. I want to see him get paid. I want to see everybody get paid. Everybody eats. But yesterday, Jed York, CEO, was talking about the fact that Brock Purdy's coming up. And Brock Purdy about to join the $40 million a year club for a quarterback, which is about 10 or so guys in that club. And so when you look at like the Niners and what's a lot, they've been a quarterback away till they found Purdy from being a Super Bowl team. They still haven't won it, of course, but at least this group hasn't won it. But they had this Super Bowl ready roster. And then they hit on Mr. Irrelevant, who's on this rookie contract, making less than $1 million a year in salary, I believe. Which, when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, especially one that cheap, it just allows you to do so many other things with your roster. But I remember talking to, and this isn't a novel thought. A lot of people feel this way, but I thought it was put best when I was talking to an executive about Brock Purdy, because I'm a Purdy guy. Like I built and gassed up the Purdy hype train.
I know you are.
Like that I drove that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it is fair to be of the opinion that you don't fear Brock Purdy as much as you fear the system. You don't just fear Purdy, you fear the system. And so
insert line. Line.
They're all system quarterbacks. They're all system quarterbacks.
Thank you very much. Keep going.
To an extent. So I'm conflicted because I'm just like, yeah, if you got, they got two types of teams. Teams that's looking for quarterbacks, and teams that's got quarterbacks. And if you got one and he's performing the way Brock Purdy is, pay that man. But at what cost? Like, you pay him $40 million. Are you able to keep the Brandon Aiyuks? Are you able to keep the roster as healthy as it is? Even though the cap's exploding and it's going up year after year and they're making all this revenue. So I gotta say, like, I'm concerned. I believe Brock Purdy is the real deal. I think you can both be a beneficiary of the system and the talent around you and a legitimate MVP quarterback. But I think the word is reservations, Michael. I have reservations as a Niners observer, not a fan, a Niners observer, about investing $40 million when this formula has been this perfect conductor, maximizing the talent elsewhere on the roster, on offense in particular. Now investing $40 million a year in him, does that throw off this balance that they have? And if they do, will they end up missing their window to seize, having Brock Purdy on the cheap? Like, I've never seen anybody survive a mistake the way that the Niners did. The Niners had one of the all-time worst trades and simultaneously had one of the all-time best draft discoveries in NFL history. But if they got to pay him $40 million, that just feels like it kind of changes the math. For them in ways that concern me.
Mike,
does that make sense?
Well, I'll tell you what concerns me. What concerns me is I'm concerned that we have switched roles and that you're talking about concerns about Brock Purdy and paying him $40 million a year. And I'm going to tell you that I'm not concerned at all that the 49ers absolutely have to give Brock Purdy a $40, $45 million, $50 million per season contract. Why? Simply because business is good. We were just talking about it. Where you were willing to sell me out and go to Brazil on your own and leave me back in the States. Business is good. There's going to be an NFL game on Friday. It's going to be on Peacock. There was a playoff game on Peacock. It did very well. It brought in more subscribers here. There's going to be a playoff game on Amazon, another one of your employers. It's going to do very well too. There's money. There's money just being tossed around in the air. It's like being one of those money machines. You just jump in there and you're going to grab whatever you can, you come out and you're going to do well for yourself. The cap went up $30 million from last year to this year. Nobody expected that. It was so good, Mike, that this is like debt forgiveness. There was debt forgiveness day in the NFL. There were teams that were like, damn, we over the cap.
Right.
We over the cap.
Yeah.
What the hell are we going to do? And then the cap numbers came in and they're like, oh, we good. We rich. We rich. He got his own money. I mean,
we're in money.
Really, everything is going well for the NFL. So $40 million for Brock Purdy in 2024. It sounds like a good salary. In 3 years, that's going to be a deal. So sign Purdy. He's a good quarterback. Now the question is, and it's not, can you win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy? You can. You can win a Super Bowl.
If you can get there, you can.
Right. Yeah.
If you can get there, you can.
Have won Super Bowl 58. I mean, you could have. It's not like, oh, they had no chance. They couldn't win it because Brock Purdy is a quarterback. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They could have.
Yeah.
That's not the question. The question is he special? Is he special? We don't know if he's special. We do know he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback who you can get to the Super Bowl with, and you can win the Super Bowl. So whether he's special or not, that's extra. That's a luxury. That's a luxury question. That's a question of privilege.
No, you're worth what somebody's willing to pay for you, and you're worth the leverage that you have. He doesn't need to be. That's why I say, like, there are franchise quarterbacks and there are quarterbacks for franchises. He's the perfect quarterback for this franchise. Does that mean that somebody else cannot have success under these circumstances? No, but it doesn't. That's fine. That's not it. He happens to be there and he's maximizing it. I think there's a lot of situations and a lot of quarterbacks that if you inserted another one into those circumstances, they would do just as well or struggle just the same. Very few transcend their circumstances, which is why they're all system quarterbacks. Go ahead.
We've done this. In fact, in COVID, it was actually a learning opportunity. I think it was the first time we played on a Wednesday. It will not be a regular thing. It'll be when Christmas falls on a Wednesday. But the time period between games has been done before. We have not seen any elevation of injuries. You all and we have had a major focus on Thursday night when we first put it in, and we've still not seen any kind of elevation of injuries. So I think we have this down.
Let's get the good word from the one and only Vincent Goodwill from Yahoo Sports. Vinny, I just want to know how you and really the NBA community at large, speak for the people, how y'all feel about the NFL coming through like Snoop crushing the buildings and just taking over Christmas? How y'all feel about this?
Man, it's wild. Like, we have different group chats with different sort of NBA folks on it, and one of them just sent a link and it just said, these dudes are greedy. And yeah, that's just kind of how it is. If the NFL sees that there's a glitch in the matrix, and if Christmas falls on a Wednesday, so be it. Like, my question though is, how do you structure your week like that if you're NFL teams? Are these teams going to not play the week before? Like, teams already complained about Thursday night football. Then you're going to play Wednesday afternoon, and they need every hour that they can get of rest and everything else. Like, to me,
Sunday to Wednesday turnaround is crazy. I would have to imagine that maybe they put them on the previous Thursday night. That's what I would have to get. You would like to think.
Yeah.
It's kind of late for a bye. I think the previous Thursday night they would have to play. That'd be my guess. But continue,
you know
I'm
what?
sorry, I mean to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but it's just
something too about this.
It's just a weird thing. Like, you almost felt like professional sports, they almost had like their own sort of club where, you know what, we respect your turf, we respect your territory, we respect, when you're going to do things. Oh, you're doing something on April 20th. Oh, we're gonna stay away from that day. We're not going to do anything on opening day, like the NCAA having a national title game on that first Monday in April. the NBA doesn't have games that day. You know what I mean? By and large, like they stay away from those things that are out of kind of a respect. Now, in the words of Jay-Z, it's no respect at all. You better check a dog.
Well,
Go
see,
ahead, Mike.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you, Vinny. The NBA has done well. I mean, relatively speaking, the NFL is in its own category. It's its own tier when it comes to eyeballs and engagement, and then everybody else falls in line. The NBA has done well, has done better than Major League Baseball, has done better than National Hockey League. So the NBA is in a good position. But I wonder, is there any chatter, or do you think it would be wise for the NBA to kind of, hey, we can't beat them. Maybe we need to work with them better. They can bring us up a little bit. Maybe we work somehow an NBA NFL collaboration just so you won't get stomped on by the Giant.
I guess it depends on what would that look, feel, and sound like, because I don't think it's necessarily a league thing. These owners have massive egos. You know what I mean? I don't think these owners want to be in a position where they have to kowtow to Clark Hunt and Jared Jones. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that is where they necessarily want to be. And you know, we consider Christmas Day kind of like the unofficial start of the NBA season, where if you're just starting to tune in, you're 20 plus games in, you might check in a little bit before that, but that's really where you start kind of diving in to NBA as a whole, outside of the team that you may be around, outside of the team in your market. And then you check in with, okay, these are the top 10 teams, or the teams that's expected to be really good this year. It's a weird space. And I'll tell you where else it's gotten weird too. It's gotten weird on Twitter. Like, it was weird a little while ago on Twitter where NFL writers were like crowing about, you know, NFL runs the Twitter streets. And I'm like, bro, I didn't know this was like a competition between like us. Like, all we do is cover these sports. Like, we don't actually get paychecks from these dudes.
That's great. I didn't know that was a thing. So like NFL Twitter try to like, I don't think there's a comparison. Like,
It was a while ago.
Okay.
I'll send you some tweets. I'll just send you some tweets over text.
It's just a whole different dynamic. It's the same platform, X or whatever, but like it's the same platform. It's just different vibe, different dynamic, different community, different conversations. I thought they were crowing about the ratings that the NFL did on Christmas, this past Christmas, which obviously precipitated this decision. No, it'll be fascinating to see, because you're right. Christmas Day is like such a showcase, not just the unofficial start of the season, but this platform that historically, and we've talked, the three of us, a lot about the All-Star game and what that means. Tentpole event, Christmas Day, the lineup, which marquee players and marquee franchises are playing on Christmas. It's just, you know, I'm tongue in cheek talking about Snoop coming through crushing the buildings, but it's like, you're right about the territory. It just feels like it should be sacred ground. But hey, money knows no such thing as sacred ground. Speaking of must be the money, and I loved your column about this inflection point that the NBA is at as a whole, but it seemed like it was inspired by the Jontay Porter gambling scandal. And I almost hesitate to use the word scandal, because if it were Michael Porter Jr., maybe it would be a bigger deal. I don't know how many people are up in arms about it. Michael and I were just talking about Shohei Ohtani the other day, and just how pervasive I assume gambling is, whether it's, within, and we just don't know it yet, within locker rooms, within leagues, within organizations, within families, friend circles. I mean, obviously, the media has fully embraced gambling, but this Jontay Porter situation, I mean, it's like it's new school point shaving. Like, it's fascinating because it's walking, talking, and quacking and looking like a duck, where my man was manipulating. First of all, the fact that there are prop bets on Jontay Porter. Let's start with that. That there are prop bets on a Jontay Porter. We're all degenerates. Yes. We're all degenerates, okay? But like manipulating the prop bets, it seems, through his own performance or lack thereof. This is a new low. I guess, what are they saying, not just on NBA Twitter, Vinny, but in NBA circles, on your text threads with NBA executives and officials about how deep this rabbit hole may go specifically for the NBA, this gambling rabbit hole?
I mean, I think it's one of those, lack of a better phrase, unintended consequences, right? Like, I feel like we can all walk around with a sign that says Vincent Goodwill presented by DraftKings. You know what I mean? Like, that might be on our IDs at this point, and our driver's licenses and passports. At this point, it's because look, it's just one of those things, y'all, that before, when it was taboo, you could kind of hear no evil, see no evil. You know what I mean? Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, you can kind of keep your eyes closed, kind of pretend that it only happens in places that you don't like to talk about, like that sort of thing. Now, because everybody is so embedded with it, it's not just the NBA, the NFL.
Embedded,
it's college,
and in
it's
bed.
college sports.
Embedded and in bed, both of them, yes.
In bed.
Yeah.
And look, not just in bed, but when they try to get out of bed, Jacqueline come scrolling again, having a meeting with you, and then Love didn't bring your ass home last night. You know what I mean? Like that's where we are with this gambling stuff. And I think
if you're so in love with her, why are you here with me? So in love with Angela, why are you here with me?
Hey, I'll say this as an aside.
Please, by all means.
I don't even answer that question in that moment, right? I just get one more in and then leave. You know what I mean? Like, you just get one more in, then you leave.
Right.
And then you
the truth doesn't matter at that point.
Teams.
Right. You know what, Jacqueline? You're right, Jacqueline. Say whatever you got to say. Okay, what were you saying about where were we?
Jacqueline wasn't in love with me, so why I gotta be in love with you? What are we doing here? Now
she just loved the new
Michael Holley's over there.
Back to the lecture at hand.
I see the logic. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Back to the lecture.
And once again, y'all talking to a single man who has been bad decisions and made bad decisions, so I totally get it, right? But as a general thing, the NBA didn't catch this. Vegas caught this. And I think that's what the NBA may be banking on, is that we can only know so much about this. It's Vegas's job to make sure that all these things are on the up and up. Not for Vegas to protect itself, but for Vegas to protect the gamblers from taking advantage of them. And this was a spot where if Jontay Porter unders are the biggest moneymaker for a given night, I'll tell you what happened. Whatever happened, this is just my amateur crackpot theory. The first incident happened in January. Oh man, we cashed out. We gonna stay quiet for a minute. We gonna make sure nobody catches us. We not gonna do it again. We not gonna do it again for another 2 months. And then they're like, hey y'all, let's go rob Terry Benedict's casino one more time, right? And they're like, and they didn't think that Vegas was watching. I bet you if the second thing didn't happen, we wouldn't know about it. If you go in for your quick big score the first time and you go home, you leave the casino and go home. These fools, whoever these fools are, decided that they were going to try it twice.
Jontay Porter.
Wait a minute. Well, hold on.
I don't think it's Jontay Porter. No. I'm not saying it isn't Jontay Porter. I'm saying people acting with insider knowledge. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's
from Jontay Porter and his participation.
Right. Jontay Porter. Jontay Porter is just one person here. I'm wondering.
This gun is
Michael
smoking.
and Vinny.
Yeah.
It is. Look, it's clear that he doesn't really have a case. But that's Jontay Porter. So it's easy for us to look at a guy who averages, 4 or 5 points a game and be like, okay, whatever. What's this dude thinking? But is this a case where the NBA and the NBA Players Association have to get together and be the prevengers, not the avengers, but prevengers? I mean, think about it. Look, if you're Jontay Porter, you've got inside information. You know what's going to happen. So what's to stop somebody else? You can go on and on. It could be whether it's Raptors, Oklahoma City, whether somebody is crazy enough, wants to bet on Ohio State, Michigan football, whatever it is. If you have some inside information, Vinny, there are a lot of guys who can just say, all right, I'll do it, but I'll be smarter. I'll be smarter than Jontay was, and I can make my money. This is something that the NBA has to address, isn't it?
Well, since you brought up Ohio State, Michigan, I will once again remind you of the score of the last 3
I just did that for you.
117 to 74.
I see that ridiculous sign behind you. I thought I'd bring that up.
It's okay. 117-74. Just remember the score. Have it burned in your head for next November when we actually do it again. Now, like you said, if you have to tell players not to gamble on their sport, not to gamble on themselves, you don't have a sport. Like, it's not something where the Players Association should be coming in and telling guys stuff that they like. That's the lowest of the low expectations. You know, dating back to high school and college, like, it's something that's embedded in your brain. You may not even know who Pete Rose is, but you know the story. You know what I mean? Like, you may not know that George Papadopoulos was out here getting suspended back in the day. You know what I mean? You may not even know George Papadopoulos was a football player. But you know that gambling is, no matter how pervasive it is elsewhere, you know it's not something that you're supposed to do. And if you have to go and remind your players to that point, if you have to go and check their closets at every point, then you don't have a sport. And for me, it's funny that you brought up the NFL taking over Christmas and the NBA leaning into gambling. I view those things as more or less parallel because the NBA is trying to catch up. The NBA is trying to lean into all these different revenue streams because they just don't have the natural reach, natural feel that the NFL has. So what that means is sometimes you get in bed with some Lady Eloises. Sometimes you get in bed with some Jacquelines, you know what I mean? And you know exactly what's going to happen. You're just praying that it doesn't. And because, think about it. Think about the last 5 years, y'all. Playing tournament, in-season tournament, gambling on the apps. Like, it has changed so fast for the NBA. You don't have time to actually do cautious checks and balances. And that's the thing that's scary here.
Can you make it darker?
Hey. Just a little bit darker.
Just a little bit.
What's the over/under on movie references in this one conversation? All right, couple of things. Speaking of the Wild Wild West, the actual Western Conference, I want to talk about first that double overtime win by the LeBron-less Lakers behind Anthony Davis. Michael, don't you dare go catching the vapors on Anthony Davis. But the LeBron-less Lakers beating the Milwaukee Bucks.
12 for 31.
What is your?
Was he 12 for 31? I think he was. Anyway, go ahead.
That's what you're focused on? Okay.
Yeah.
Since you brought it up, okay, you got your numbers. I got mine. Anthony Davis' last 4 games during his Lakers 4-game winning streak, 22-15 with 6 assists, 23-19 with 4 blocks and 4 assists, 36-16, and then last night 34, 23, and 4 blocks in 52 minutes. Like, I just don't want. I mean, like, sorry, Vinny, excuse us for a second. We've been arguing for years about Anthony Davis. I don't want. Don't.
No, I like
keep
Anthony.
your mouth closed about it.
He's a good player.
Don't come
player,
around.
yeah,
Do not
really
come
good
around.
player.
Y'all been talking
I like
shit
him.
about Anthony Davis for years.
I like him.
Years. And okay, you like him so much. The first thing you go to is 12 for 31, as if that's some god awful stat line. Anyway,
it's not.
Vinny,
Look at that. That's terrible. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, but if he goes, 3 for 8, he don't want to shoot. He don't want to be the man. He took 31 shots. It's hard to make 16 of them. Okay, now, everybody ain't doing that. Vinny, this dude just trolling me at this point because he know he's wrong. He's been wrong for years about Anthony Davis. Vinny, your biggest takeaway, not just from last night's victory behind Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis, but the Lakers. These last 4 games in particular, and just really who they are, who they might be able to be, provided they survive the play-in, which, again, that's a big if, but if they survive the play-in, who can they be in these playoffs? Do these Lakers have a ring to them or not, if you get what I mean?
A ring? The only ring I see is in Denver, baby. That's the only ring. That's the only ring I see.
Indulge me. Yes, it's the Nuggets conference. Yes, it's their league. But just indulge me, or at least the Western Conference. I know the Celtics might have something to say about it when they're not choking away leads. But what is a lead nowadays? But indulge me. How dangerous, how fun might the Lakers have another playoff run in them, another deep playoff run in them? Put it that way.
Well, here's the thing. If you are in the 9-10 spot in the Western Conference, or the 9-10 spot in any of the play-in, the only place you can get to is 8. Which means if you get to 8, you're playing 1. And last I checked, 1 is the big joker. And y'all know what happens when the big joker goes on the forehead. It's game over. Well, maybe, Michael Holley, let me take that back. Because sometimes Michael Smith can have the big joker and the little joker and say, bored.
Wow.
Sometimes he'll say,
Anyway,
sometimes he will say, bored. Now, if you're
That
telling me.
That never happened for Vinny. Stop doing that. You keep embellishing and exaggerating. I know embellishment sells books, okay? But you keep embellishing Richard Wrong, Langston Snooze about that's one Spades game at the NBA All-Star game in New Orleans that, yes, we lost. I did not underbid. But you like to do that because you know it hurts my credibility.
And you did underbid.
You like to it was NBA All-Star. We were in the lobby at a W
It was
hotel.
NABJ. It was NABJ.
Bullshit. It was in my city. It was not. It was NBA All-Star.
It was the summer. It was the summer. It was NABJ in 2012. It was during the NBA Finals. It was during the NBA Finals when Miami was playing against Oklahoma City. It was NABJ in New Orleans.
So we're both wrong. No. NABJ. Oh, they intersected the Finals NABJ. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because that was the lockout. It was the lockout year.
You might be right about that fact, but I did not underbid. And stop saying that. And yes, this is beige rage. Before you say it, I'm going to preemptively say it. Yes, this is beige rage. I did not underbid. I've never been guilty of underbidding. Stick to basketball, Vinny. I asked you about the Lakers. Not something that happened 20 years ago. Go ahead. Lakers.
I see that you have. I'm glad you have gotten all of this off of your chest in this therapeutic session. I'm glad you have gotten it off, even if it's the lie that you tell yourself. I'm 100% with you. I was on your team. We lost. We had to sign the book to Bomani and Jamel because your ass underbid it. I cannot believe this. And yes, that was beige rage. And yes, I'm still upset with you because I'm as competitive as you. Now, the Lakers have the profile of a team that could make things interesting in the playoffs if they don't play Denver. Why? Because they don't foul and they go to the free throw line a lot. Now, you may say, they go to the free throw line a lot. That's a little chicanery, but they're big. LeBron goes to the line a lot. Anthony Davis goes to the line a lot. You saw Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. They go to the line a lot. That gives you chances to set your defense. That gives you easy points when the games are getting called a little bit tighter in the postseason. And it just feels a certain way. And I don't know if LeBron can rev it up in a series. I think LeBron can rev it up in a game. I just don't think they can get to the 7 or 8 line that would give them out of the crosshairs of Denver. Now, Denver could very well not finish in 1, and it could be Minnesota or Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City is light in the pants, and they're young. And if you tell me that, okay, cool. If you tell me that the Lakers are against Oklahoma City in round 1, all right, fine, I'll eat that. And then in the second round, if they are in that 1-8 line, that means you play 4-5. 4-5 is Clippers and New Orleans in that first round series. Now, that could be a Lakers-Clippers series, or that could be a Lakers-New Orleans series. And in either series, the Lakers would be really, really confident given the recent history. They beat New Orleans in that in-season tournament where we looked like we thought Zion was Refrigerator Perry. You know what I mean? And then they beat the Clippers the last few times that they played when LeBron literally went on like a fourth quarter rampage in front of Jay-Z and the world a few weeks ago that started to send the Clippers down this spiral. So if you're saying all those things line up, all those things have to line up exactly the way that I said it. Because if one thing is wrong, if the Lakers are in the 2-7 line and they're having to go against Denver in round 1 or round 2, they're going home.
All right, speaking of lining up, before we get you out of here, man. Okay, go ahead, Mike. We got one more thing before we let him go. Go ahead.
Yeah, one more thing. What happens if the Warriors don't make the playoffs?
Okay,
what happens
we're going
if
to the
they
same
do?
place.
I mean, what happens?
We're going to the same place.
What happens?
Rockets have won 9 in a row, 11-1 in March. I was going to ask the same thing. Chances that the Rockets overtake the Warriors for this playing spot. Thank you, Michael. Great minds think alike.
Baby, you better hope the Rockets don't overtake Golden State, because I don't know what type of conversations we're going to have about Ime Udoka, because we don't know how to talk about that man in glowing terms given some of his movies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to talk about Jalen Green and some of those other things either. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just better for all involved Golden State.
It's better if they make it. It's good stories, man. Some good stories.
What you trying to say about Ime Udoka?
What's not to say? A lot. There's a lot.
What you trying to say? What you trying to say about
Jalen
Ime
Green?
Udoka in the city of Houston, given his proclivities? That man is a walking Drake song.
Don't you want that exclusive where he tells you, like, hey, man, what happened?
Nope.
What happened, bro? You don't want that story?
Nope.
I could
Nope,
not
don't
have
want it.
asked. Hey, and to
The
your point earlier,
Warriors.
Vinny.
What happens to the Warriors? I ain't talking about
What happens to the Warriors? Oh, they're just old.
wait, real quick.
I don't know if there's much to say. They're just old.
Real quick before I finish it, I just want to say that's why NBA Twitter is king. Because those conversations happen on NBA Twitter. So the Warriors are just old. I mean, Clay had 6 threes in the starting lineup last night. They beat the Heat. You know, they can't make it and make some noise.
I mean, look, what did you say about that duck? That duck is walking. That duck is quacking. If it's 70 games into the season and we still playing, if was a 5th game, I think we got our answer. Like, the Warriors are closer to the bottom of the Western Conference than the top. They just look like a championship team because they have some of the names. And then you're thinking about the Kumingas and all these other guys that are coming up. But it's clear, this ain't those dudes, man.
Yo, you are that dude, Vinny. This is a master class. It's one of your best pieces of work. Chef's kiss for this conversation, brother. We need to get together and play another Spades game. We need to play another Spades game.
What'd you say, Vinny?
So
No, I'm not. Michael Smith, you want another chance to embarrass yourself? I don't want this. Do I need to teach Mason how to play spades so he can be properly taught?
Okay.
Now you're bringing my son into it? In front
Oh,
of my wife and
man.
everything, dog? In front of my wife and everything, dog? Like, you're bringing my son into it? You know, there's no family is off limits. Well, hello there, Natalie Esquire. Nice to see you again.
What's up?
We know you got a lot on your mind. You've been walking these streets of social media. You always got your ear to the ground, your ear to the streets. You know what the people are saying. And you got a lot to say. You got a lot on your mind, I'm sure. We have no idea where you're taking this. I have no idea what topic you're going to bring up. Neither Michael nor I has prepared. So be gentle.
Of course.
Take it away.
Yeah, so there's obviously been a lot of enthusiasm over the NCAA women's tournament, right? And we're seeing all the headlines, the ratings, and not just for Iowa with Caitlin Clark. Obviously, we know she's the preeminent name, but we're seeing all the ratings for all the games come in strong, right? And they've been really exciting games. And so one of the things that I was really surprised to see is commentary, because I thought we were past this point, is everyone sort of like clutching their pearls about the women cursing or being like passionate on the court. So, recently when Iowa played, Caitlin Clark, it appears, and we like to lip read, but it appears that she said, shut the up, while she was on the court. And it looked like, the reason why it's a little confusing is because it looked like she was yelling it at the crowd, but you're like, why would she yell that to the home crowd? So some people are saying she says stand up or get the, but the point is we know the F up part, that was definitely there. And people just there was so much commentary around it. And then also before that game, she had another game where she wasn't playing her best. So she threw the ball at her head and she was arguing a lot with the refs. That her father, they just kept going to it. Her father was stop, yelling at her from the crowd. And so then it was this talk about, she doesn't need to be behaving like that. And, especially when they're up that much. And I do think it's a little whiny, but I'm this is stuff that happens in the men's game all the time. And it continued, Angel Reese, the opponent that LSU was playing, she fouled out of the game and she wave bye-bye, because that's what we do, right? That's what happens in sports. They taunt, they do things. And of course, the classless comments came. And we'll get into what some of that means, but she was called classless and, the diva, all those kinds of things. And then Cameron Brink out of Stanford. She fouled out and walking off the court, she told someone F you. We don't know if it was a ref. We don't know who she said it to, but it was very clear that she said F you. And people were just like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like, why can't women show passion? And I'm just surprised because I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of commentary always about women's sports and there's always the haters and things like that. But I just thought we've evolved in a place where we know that they're athletes and they're going to show passion. And this shouldn't be a big deal still.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't know about you, Mike. I'm surprised that there's an expectation that we've evolved. I don't think we've evolved to that point. I'm not surprised by the cussing. And nor am I surprised by the commentary because a lot of people still don't get it. Look, you start with Caitlin Clark. She is the all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, men and women. She's the all-time leading scorer. She's a great player. She's a competitor. She's going to be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. So why wouldn't she? I'd be surprised if she didn't drop some F-bombs every now and then. So anybody who is looking at these players and kind of assigning value to how they should be acting is probably stuck in a different time. I mean, it's a pretty simple answer. If you don't talk about men that way, you talk about women that way. Why is that? I think we know what that's about, right, Natalie? We know where that's coming from.
Yes, but don't we want that in sports? Don't we want
men and women?
Right, but don't we want it to be fiery, right? And like this is just like, okay, I'm talking about the cursing, right? And I mentioned with Angel, right, that there's the class list because somehow the commentary, like in comparison of all the things that happen, waving bye-bye on the court versus potentially cursing at a ref or cursing at the crowd. Of the three, if we're ranking them in order of offensiveness, I feel like waving bye-bye is probably the least offensive, yet her criticism seemed the harshest. So aside from the gender dynamics at play, as you know, there's also a racial component and element when it comes to Angel Reese. And so that's to be expected. Not that it's a good thing, I expect that, but I was just still overall shocked. I was shocked to see any kind of criticism of Caitlin Clark because I feel like it doesn't come. And I'm like, if this is the thing we're going to criticize Caitlin Clark over, it seems really silly to me. Michael, you look like you're over there thinking and pondering. Deep thought.
So I felt this way when LSU and South Carolina got into it in the SEC tournament.
I'm so glad you went there.
But I was just like, what's the big deal? Like, honestly, that was not it was a great game. It's a great rivalry. The juxtaposition between how Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey took accountability or did not take accountability for it, I get the talking points and the conversation around that part. But the incident itself was not a fight, and it was not a melee.
Right,
it was, it was
Mike,
nothing.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but like, I was gonna go here, but this exactly. I'm just glad you pointed out the melee because the descriptions, and this is kind of the place where I was gonna go next with this is like the microaggressions we're seeing in the media, but like the descriptions that came after later for Camila Cardozo and headlines that said things like it's an embarrassment or that it like ruined, the entire, game and the tournament. It's like, we like that. Like now everyone is anticipating and hoping that LSU and South Carolina make it to the Final Four. So why is this a bad thing? Like it was not this crazy. It wasn't Malice in the Palace.
It was competition. Okay, but I'm glad you brought that up. It was competition. It was heated competition. It was high stakes. So when that happened, I felt like, A, that's not a fight. B, well, what do we expect? It's basketball. These are world-class athletes playing basketball. Aren't we past looking at women's basketball players as though they're playing tennis, as though they're supposed to be
we're not past
quote unquote? No, we're not because we live in a patriarchal society. We live in a racist society and a patriarchal society. So there's always going to be racial undertones and microaggressions when it comes to commentary, conversation, and criticism. And there's always going to be patriarchal and in some cases misogynistic undertones when it comes to the commentary, criticism, and conversations around sports and just society in general. So we're not past it, but that was how I processed it. I was like, well, what's the big deal? Like, they just got into it because they're basketball players playing basketball. Why are we still tripping because they're ladies? So I agree with your original premise, Natalie, and yours as well, Michael. So now this part, the cussing part. The only thing I would say, though, is, and again, I'm sure it's being delivered differently and maybe coming from different places. But, and I'm going to see if I can say this right, like, I don't think, I'm going to just use Draymond Green. Sorry, he's kind of like the poster child for petulance. I'm going to just use Draymond Green.
No problem.
Draymond Green gets criticized for how he acts towards officials. Draymond Green gets criticized for how he goes at other players or what he says. So, like, a hallmark of the men's game is aggression, is competitive fire, is in some cases foul language, is taunting, is trash talking. But what also comes with that a lot of times is commentary about class and sportsmanship. So I don't know that I necessarily see a
I don't know about class.
Well, it may,
It's
maybe not the
criticism,
word.
but
Maybe not the word.
also-
I've never heard.
No, but wait,
I've never
hold
heard
on,
that
hold
in the
on.
men's game.
Hold on. Wait, yeah,
Never.
you have. You have. The difference is, I guarantee you have. Whether it's class, whether it's sportsmanship, whether it's professionalism, whether it's maturity, whatever you want to call it. The difference is, it hits different when you're talking about women. That's where we all agree. When you're talking about women, it comes from a place of, well, this is how you're supposed to be acting because you're a woman. When it's with men, it doesn't come from, well, men shouldn't act that way. It's, should you carry yourself that way independent of your gender? It's just you cannot separate this kind of commentary, which Natalie is calling out, from the larger context is the problem. That's why you hear it differently, Natalie. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that people saying it aren't coming from a place of sexism or double standards. I'm saying that the same criticism and commentary does exist, but for different reasons.
For sure.
In the men's game.
But the
Yes.
other thing too that I think is a difference with the men's game is, like you mentioned, Draymond Green. We know, like, there's other players, Dennis Rodman. There's certain kinds
Sure.
of players where that kind of stuff happens. Like Chris Paul complains a lot to the refs. LeBron does
Right.
too. But they're
Right.
superstars, and so they're not called out and talked about in the same way. That's why I said I was surprised.
But Chris Paul is one of the most hated people in the NBA because of that reason.
For
That's
sure.
a great call.
But I'm talking about
Dylan Brooks is a villain.
Right,
Now,
but
they may
that-
be celebrated for it.
But
But
they're-
Angel Reese, for example, as many critics as Angel Reese has, Natalie, you and I both know how many people ride 10 toes down for Angel Reese
For
because of
sure.
the way
Yeah,
she
but the
conducts
villain-
But
herself.
Caitlin Clark calling her, that's what I'm saying. Like, usually the stars, that's my point. Like, we don't usually care about the fact that they're chirping with refs, Like, you let a LeBron or a Chris Paul do it, and the description is different. That's my point. So, like, when you bring
Luka
up,
gets
like,
called a crybaby.
okay.
Who does? Who gets called?
Luka. And this is
but-
not a what.
but
Hold on,
it's-
now. I just want to be clear.
but
Hold on,
to
Mike, 1
your
second. I just want to be
point,
clear. This is not a whataboutism. I'm not.
No, I know you're
coloring
not.
what
I know
saying.
you're not.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I think
I'm
that's
not-
a distinction.
Yeah.
That's my only
But
point.
I also think, Michael, it represents, and I hate doing this. I hate resorting to this. I hate when people say, "Oh, this just goes to show how far the game has come." But kind of like, this is basketball. And like, we're talking about just basketball, and we're passionate about basketball. And to Natalie's point about the fight, all of this is good for the game, not the women's game.
Yeah.
The game of basketball at every level.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: there will not be. It's good. It's good for the game, but maybe bad for the society. Okay, good for the game, bad for our society.
Bad for the soul.
That we haven't
Bad
had.
for the soul.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if I went to a game? If I'm still working for a newspaper, I go to a game and then I report back to the home office. Hey, I got a story. What's your story? Chris Paul said, he cursed. Chris Paul cursed tonight. Hey, Draymond Green was cussing during the game. Put that in the headline. Hey, LeBron James was cussing. and Patrick Beverly, Anthony Davis. Like, you go on and on. It's not even it's not a headline.
Michael, guys
forget
have gotten. Go ahead.
But it's not a headline. If I go to a game, I guarantee you, any game I go to, the next game I go to, I don't care if it's the next Celtics game I go to, whoever they play,
Sure.
bad team, great team, there's going to be a ton of cussing on the court. It's not going to be,
No question.
and nobody's going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it on A Brother from Another. The Boston Globe's not going to have a headline on it. It's not going to be a Bleacher Report. It's not going to be
I think that's a
NBC
generalization.
Sports. It's not.
I think that's a generalization.
Anything.
There's a lower bar for men.
Are you kidding
There's
me?
There's a lower bar. I'm not trying to be contrarian, trust me, but there's a lower bar for men, for sure. For sure. There's a lower bar when it comes to what's considered etiquette or behavior or a proper way to do it. But there are plenty of situations where if a player loses his cool at a ref or at a fan or at an opponent or a teammate and uses certain language, it's a conversation.
Give me an example. Give me one example.
So if you're gonna put me on the
Just
spot,
one.
I'm gonna fail that test. I'm gonna fail that test because it's so common. But I'm saying you're not gonna tell me that we don't ever talk about men's behavior. It doesn't have the same undertone. Or even language. Or even language, Michael. Like, there are players that have been criticized for cursing within earshot of kids and in the stands. Even language has been a point of conversation. It just, again, the undertones are different. Maybe the motivation to Natalie's point is different. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the people saying it are saying it for different reasons. But I don't know how I got this deep on this branch here. I guess what I'm saying is I look at it as I'm fine with people criticizing women the same way in my recollection they have criticized men for their on-court demeanor. My problem comes when it's coming from a patriarchal or misogynistic or sexist place, as if women are supposed to act dainty-like and polite and soft and docile playing basketball. That's the part where
I
we
agree
still
with
haven't
the latter.
evolved from, if it's that.
And I think it's important
I
to
agree
point
with the
out.
latter. I guess I'm disagreeing. I'm disagreeing with the former. And I'm saying it is not the same way.
You don't think there's conversation in the men's game around men's behavior. Okay.
Not around their language. Their behavior, but their language, no, never.
Okay. Oh, the language. Okay.
Language,
All right.
never.
You're talking specifically about. Okay. All right. You're talking about you. Okay. Sorry. So you had drilled down on that, not waving goodbye. Or not going at it with an official. You're talking about profanity. Okay.
Are we even talking? But if a man does that, are we talking about it? Like, if a man waves goodbye, are we?
It depends on who it is. There are assholes in the NBA.
For
there are assholes at all levels of basketball. There are villains. Depends on who it is.
Like, if somebody, if Dylan Brooks does it, we expect it. If Patrick Beverly does it, we expect it.
And it's also not. It's also not pearl clutching, though.
You ain't doing it right.
It's not pearl clutching either.
It's not pearl clutching. You're 100% correct on that.
And just something you said that I think is really important to point out, because you said, like, it comes from a place of patriarchy. Women are also perpetuators of patriarchy, and I just want people to understand that.
Sometimes the biggest ones.
Yes, because because some of the outrageous headlines you were seeing were from women, and last week I sort of teased, like, what's the media's responsibility, and I don't want to necessarily take us down a rabbit hole or go deep into another conversation, but I've been paying very close attention to how the media is covering things right now, because I'm learning. And Michael Holley, I'm going to ask you, because I know Mike brought up the other day that you're a professor and you teach this stuff, but I'm observing and I'm watching. And I feel like, we're at an inflection point in women's basketball at the college and pro level, and college is definitely leading the way. But I just see some things that don't sit right with me. And as someone who knows probably more history than me, I'm curious if there were some of these same similarities in the NBA, because the NBA is still a relatively young league. And I think that people forget, like sometimes, when they criticize the women's game and viewership and attendance, I'm like, the NBA was on tape delay and Magic and Bird had to save it. It didn't like just come out the gates and was this great thing. And so there's like so many issues around coverage in women's basketball. I've mentioned it before, the disproportionate coverage of the white players versus the black players. And thank goodness allies like Paige Beckers and Kelsey Plum, they've spoke up on behalf of this as, white woman basketball players. But there's also just, Mike, you brought it up, the stuff that happened after the LSU South Carolina game, how Dawn handled it. Dawn knew she had to go apologize. Like, it wasn't an option. Like, we credited her and said, wow, look at how she apologized. And then look at how Kim Mulkey handled it. It was like such a stark contrast. Kim Mulkey said, I wish she would have said that to Angel Reese. Like, if Dawn Staley would have said that, what would the commentary have been? And I didn't see articles calling out Kim Mulkey for being classless, right? We just let it pass. And so I'm watching, because after Camila Cardozo got into that minor scuffle, it was a push, she was described by one outlet, or I should say by one person, as a giant Brazilian woman from South Carolina. Dawn Staley had to call it out, and an apology was issued right away, right? Woo. You had that. We saw the headlines that I mentioned after Melee. It's an embarrassment. And then again, you look at how Dawn Staley knew she had no choice of how she had to approach that. Even last year, after the Final Four, after they lost to Iowa, she took the time during that presser to talk about her team and how she doesn't like how they've been described on the record and off the record as monkeys, right? Bullies, and that they're not, it's a bar fight, that they're not these things. And so everyone is kind of tapping into this. Everyone is looking at how to cover it. And I'm just wondering, what is the approach, with all the history we have now? And I know that you're not just going to eradicate microaggressions and racism, but what is the responsible way to approach this? Because I get so riled up all the time, and I'm just one voice, and I'm not even a major voice. What is the responsible way to approach this?
Yeah, that's a heavy one. That's a lot there to try to navigate.
I know we can't.
But I'll tell you this. Mike and Natalie. Now you bring up the NBA, and I think there was a point where the league itself had to confront what the perceptions were and what the media was putting out there and deal with it. So Larry O'Brien, the predecessor to David Stern. David Stern comes in, as he liked to say many times, same year as Michael Jordan. So it was David Stern, first year commissioner, Michael Jordan in '84. And so they already had Bird and Magic, but there was still a lot with that. There was a lot unspoken with Bird in Boston and Magic in LA, White Star, Black Star, who were great friends, but the country saw something completely different. Depending on where you were, this country was still dealing with some of the things we deal with today. And so there was a lot of commentary that was uninformed, that was very ignorant, coming from NBA fans and NBA reporters. And David Stern was trying to make the league more universal. So he was trying to promote the league, and he was trying to deal with some of the stuff that he knew was happening in the league. So 3 years after that, Dennis Rodman says his comments about Larry Bird after they lose a playoff series to Boston. Hey, if he was just another black player, we wouldn't be celebrating Larry Bird. So there's a lot of resentment still, that kind of conversation. He had won 3 straight championships, and Dennis Rodman says this stuff. Isaiah Thomas agrees with it. Like, it was that kind of commentary of like, oh, he's just getting credit because he's a white player and the rest of us are being ignored. And I think the NBA really had to confront it. It had to deal with black players being called smart, which they weren't always celebrated now. Now you hear it. You hear players like LeBron being described as cerebral, Steph Curry. black coaches being celebrated, black general managers being celebrated for putting teams together. That stuff didn't always exist. It was very, it was infrequent. And the media had to come along and follow what the league was putting down. The league saying, hey, look, we have these things in place. Why don't you write about it this way? Why don't you talk about it this way? Because you seem to be engaging in, you're operating in tropes and stereotypes that really don't exist for our league. It took probably 10 to 12 years to get that stuff kind of rooted out of the NBA. And I think it's going to be a difficult process in women's basketball before we get to a point where we can have real conversations about their athleticism and their intelligence and their competitiveness without resorting to, ooh, women shouldn't act like that. Like, come on, what are we talking about?
And that resentment Michael talks about, Mike, that's happening right now. And I'm just wondering, do you think a media plays the part in building that resentment? Like, or should it just be like, whatever, ignore them and still, because that resentment that Dennis Rodman felt because of how they're talked about, that is happening right now in women's basketball. Like fans, people are feeling like that conversation is happening. And I'm sure some of the players do, even though no one's like said something on the record yet.
Do the media play a part? Of course, absolutely. And the media is such a broader term now because everybody's got a platform. I mean, like, you know,
yeah.
and
you ain't have social media in 1987,
right? But or just the internet, you know, or YouTube. But even just the gatekeepers of traditional media often failed when it came to the standards that we're aspiring to. So there's a lot more media, a lot less qualified media, therefore a lot less ethical and principled media. But I think as media evolves and conversations are not confined to just a certain elitist group, I think, like Michael said, in time, I'm hopeful that there'll be more people like yourself calling out these issues. Both very well said on both of y'all parts. Want to leave it there though, because you got more, right, Natalie? Like you got.
No, I knew this conversation would take. No. I knew that. I felt like that was enough for today.
Okay.
I did. I felt like that was enough for today.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
I'm sure that conversation will be ongoing.
Good stuff, Natalie. Good to see you, Mike.
All right, brother. Good to see you.
Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget, you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.